Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Marvel Crisis Protocol reveal. And today we're taking a look at someone who we knew most of what was coming in this panel to play already, but there are a couple new things. We've seen the back of the card now, and a couple other things that I think there's still some value in doing this. And also, if you just missed the Adepticon reveals and you haven't seen him yet, you'll be able to take a look at his stat card here. So. Yesterday, at time of upload, Atomic Mass Games released the panel to play for Sandman. And here we have another nice look at the model. This is a super nice looking model. I'm really excited to get this guy on the table. And, they do their usual. They go through the backstory and stuff. Definitely worth a read if you're interested. But then we get to the juicy stuff, the stats and things like that. So we do have it definitely calls out here that he will be Spider Foes, which we definitely already knew. But it doesn't say anything about Criminal Syndicate here, so maybe not. I've noticed in the description for the actual box, it seems like it mentions Criminal Syndicate as well as Spider Foes, so it's possible that the entire box is affiliated for both, which would be really cool, but no confirmation on that yet. Going into his stat card here, so like I said, we have seen the front of this before, but I will go over it again for anyone who hasn't. But real quick, the only difference between the front and the back is that he has one extra point of stamina on the back here, so he's got 7 health as opposed to the 6 on the front. But as far as I'm aware, that is the only difference. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and go through his card here. So he is a 4 threat. He's got 4/4/3 for defensive stats. He's a slow mover and he is a size 3. He's going to have 3 different attacks here, and we do know he's a medium base, so that slow move isn't too bad. He's got 3 different attacks here. So the first one is Silicate Strike. This is a range 2 5 dice physical attack. After the attack is resolved, he's going to gain power equal to the damage dealt, so your standard builder there, but it does have a wild throw if they are size 2 or less in any direction, which is really good. Next, he has Sand Blast here. This is a beam 3 5 dice attack that also costs 0 power, and it has the underfoot trigger. After each attack is resolved, if it dealt damage, this character pushes the target character small. Note that this does not specify a size, so you have control on your builder here against single targets of size 2 or less. But then here, as long as you're dealing damage, you can push any model you would like with this, which is really good. Worth acknowledging as well that I'm pretty sure this is the same trigger that the Sand Constructs have as well, so they can do pushing as well. And lastly here, he has Punch in Your Ticket. This is a range 2 8 dice attack. It's going to cost him 4 power, and he adds 2 dice to this attack for each Sand Construct within 2 of the target character. So that can go up to 12 dice if you position your Sand Constructs properly for this, which is a lot of dice. That's a really strong attack for 4 power. So definitely a really powerful spender on Sandman here, but it is just damage. There's no control or anything on that attack. So really giving it to the dice there. Next, you have Reabsorb. This is an active superpower. It costs 3. Choose an allied sand construct within range 3 of this character. Place him within 1 of the chosen sand construct. Then that sand construct is KO'd and he removes 1 damage. So both giving him some mobility and some healing, but you do have to KO your own sand construct to do it. Next, he has Create Sand Construct. You can have 2 in your squad instead of the normal 1. You must activate all allied sand constructs before his activation, and at the start of his activation, if there are fewer than 2 in play, he may suffer 2 damage. If he does, he places 1 into play within 2, and it gains an activated token and is part of your squad. So he can bring them in just by basically dealing damage to himself, which isn't too bad because he does have healing factor down here. Next, he has Sand Manipulation, so this character gains 1 power whenever an allied sand construct deals damage or suffers damage from an enemy effect. So, pretty solid on the power generation there. He doesn't actually have that much to spend it on. I mean, that spender, like we already acknowledged, is a lot of dice, so you're probably going to want to use that at least on occasion. And the Reabsorb is a good mobility effect. So you'll be able to have the power for these fairly often, especially since the sand constructs get to activate first. So if they do any damage, that's powering him up to be able to use his abilities. So that's really good for him. As we already mentioned, he has healing factor 1 and wall crawler as well. So both really useful things. I mean, with the small move, wall crawlers not that meaningful, but still definitely there. And then we go to the back, and yeah, I believe just giving it another glance here, but I believe nothing else changes other than that 1 point of stamina, which is definitely going to be nice for him because that helps him bring those constructs into play a little bit more often, and then he can heal back up by eating them if he wants. You can even do some fun things where you like place the construct down, take 2 damage for that, then you reabsorb it to basically, almost like storm hop off of it as if you're playing X-Men. And then you healing factor 1, so you've healed all the damage that you dealt to yourself that turn. And you didn't really lose anything. Well, I mean, you spent 3 power, but otherwise you didn't really lose anything to do it. So there's some kind of cool things there that you can maybe do with that to basically be able to place them down and not suffer any consequences for it. But of course, they will come in activated, so you're losing the activation on them by doing it that way. But still, not taking damage is a good thing. And of course, he will work with exceptional healing, which is going to be really, really good for him. Weirdly enough, they didn't include the grunt stat card in here, so that's a thing that they chose to do. But we have seen it before. I'll pull it up real quick for anyone who hasn't, though. So thankfully, Jarvis Protocol is a fantastic app, and they've already added the sand constructs to here. So here are your sand constructs that were revealed at Adepticon. They have 1 defense in all stats. They've got 2 health, small movers, size 3. They have Sand Slap, which is a 4 dice range 2 physical attack, and it's going to be doing that same underfoot trigger of pushing any size if it deals damage. They are only 4 dicers and they're not in a beam, so they're not quite as powerful as Sandman's version of this. But still, having control on grunts is crazy good, and I mean, 4 damage still averages, or 4 dice still averages damage on most targets, even if it's not the most consistent thing in the world. So, really, really solid there. They've got crumbling form, so they cannot pick up, hold, contest, or interact with objectives, so they are not playing the objective game at all. They're kind of like Ultron's grunts in that regard, but with those pushes, they can play it a little bit better than you would expect. They also have difficult terrain. When they take damage from a physical attack, they reduce the damage suffered by 1 to a minimum of 1. So basically, they can take 2 physical attacks that would deal damage if they did 2 damage, because otherwise they die anyways. But then additionally, they cannot be thrown and do not suffer damage from collisions. So that's really, really good. That's one of the easiest ways to get grunts off the table. So being able to kind of get around that is obviously really, really valuable. So that's great for them. They also have Dust to Dust here at the end of an allied Sandman's activation. If they are not within 3 of it, they are KO'd. Note that is Sandman's activation, so you can totally have them kind of move away, hit something far away, and then Sandman can move it back into range 3 of them, or you can just let them die at that point, but they don't instantly drop the second they get out of range 3. And additionally, whenever an allied Sandman is dazed, they are KO'd. So when Sandman flips over to his injured side, he's coming in with no grunts on the board, which is going to be really, really important because he does have that extra health pool to help him bring them back in, but that's still going to be eating a good chunk of his health to do so. So very, very important. But yeah, they're very strong as far as grunts go. Being able to push any size is huge. Not taking damage from collisions is also probably a very big deal. And you can't even throw them at other things because they are size 3, so that would hurt a lot, but you can't do that. So yeah, they're going to be pretty solid. It has been pointed out that they're believed to be on small base, whereas Sandman himself is on a medium, so they are going to be a little bit on the slow side here, but still they're going to do relatively meaningful things, I think, and that makes them pretty good. So yeah, lots of interesting things there. So there's been a couple questions kind of circulating around about how the whole 2 grunts things will work, and they did clear up some of that here, but I think there's still a couple things that are left unknown. So the first one here is basically he's allowed to have 2 grunts in play, which is something that the rules very strictly forbid, having more than 1 grunt in the game at a time. So that's what stops you from running, say, Nick Fury with Red Skull 2. You're only allowed to have one of their grunts on the table at a time, so you'd just be kind of kneecapping the other one. Um, So the superpower is allowing you to have multiple grunts under Sandman, but you're still not allowed to bring in multiple grunts from different parent characters. I don't know if that's just something they're like sneaking around the way they worded the rule the first time, or if they're actually changing the way the rule is worded. I'd have to look at it to be sure. But still very much limited to only one parent character having a grunt at a time. Additionally, both grunts will activate before Sandman. One Sand construct will complete its activation before the second begins, and I would assume this can go in any order. Now, what's really important here, though, is they still, this kind of implies that he still only starts with one on the battlefield because it says this power allows him to have two grunts in play. So he doesn't have two grunts before he uses this superpower, is kind of the impression I'm getting from that. So that's interesting for a couple reasons. I mean, it means the second grunt will come in activated, but they'll also be able to come up within range two of Sandman's deployment, so they can go a little bit further up the board to help make up for that activated token. Assuming that is how that works, I don't think that's been 100% confirmed yet, because I don't believe there's anything else here. And yeah, they do talk about the Sandman grunts here, but they just didn't show the card, which was definitely a choice. Um, but yeah, so that's really interesting the way that they seem to be handling that. We don't know for sure. Maybe they will both deploy with him. I'm just skimming this really, but I haven't seen anything that seems like he will be able to have both on the table at the start, which is interesting for me because I definitely thought that was how he was going to work right out the gate, and then somebody put that seed of doubt in my mind, and I was like, oh yeah, that seems to kind of be the way that they're actually going with this. So I think that's really interesting. That means he starts a little bit slower. You have to build him up and you have to take advantage of that healing factor to get there. So that's definitely a big deal. But honestly, I still think Sandman looks really, really strong. He's got really solid control between the Sandblast and the Silicate Strike, both having either a throw or a push. The punch in your ticket is really, really hard hitting, and if you're placing your sand constructs right, I mean, that can be a 12 dice attack. And if you're sitting on 8 power, that's a 12 dice attack that you're throwing twice. So that's really big. Um, yeah, I think that's certainly a really hard hitting attack that you can definitely take advantage of with him. I think the grunts are really, really good. Probably, in my opinion, one of the better grunts we've seen so far. They're going to be slow, so it's hard to say 100% how well they're going to be able to kind of get up to your opponent's face and be able to take advantage of this attack. But I think out of all the attacks I've seen on grunt characters, this is probably one of the best ones. Just being able to push characters any size off of grunt attacks is huge. I mean, not even factoring in the fact that Sandman has a beam in a perfect, magical fairyland world, the sand constructs could displace four models on their turn, and then Sandman could do easily two, if not more, assuming you're getting damage through, and maybe you can have some tools to help you with that stuff like Zemo there giving everybody rerolls or something like that. So I think this model is going to be really, really strong on some of those more kind of secure focused scenarios. If you're playing researcher or if there's fewer secure points and you can play that kind of control game on them. Um, I think Sandman's going to be really, really good for places like that. So we'll see. But I'm definitely really, really high on Sandman right now. I think he's going to be quite solid. Um, Even just kind of thinking like have your grunt move up, push the target character small, then your other grunt moves up towards where they got pushed, push them again. Now you've displaced them twice. So, now they almost definitely have to use some sort of action to get back into the fight, which is just absolutely huge on some models. So, yeah, I think they're going to be really, really powerful in the hands of a skilled player, and just with the scenario kind of working. I definitely don't think Sandman and his grunts are going to be the most mobile things in the world. With reabsorb, you can definitely Sandman can definitely get around, but the grunts are still very, very slow. So I don't know if he's getting the full value if you're trying to, constantly use reabsorb to teleport yourself around. So I don't know how much I feel about him on D maps and things like that. But I think there's still some really interesting potential places for him. So definitely someone I'm going to keep an eye out for because I think he's going to be potentially really, really good. But that is going to do it for my thoughts here. There's nothing else that they show off here. We just get the cool splash art here. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below, how you're feeling on Sandman. Personally, I think he's probably the strongest character to come out of the Spider Foes box. He looks really, really good, and I'm excited to see him on the table. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. You guys excited for Sandman? I definitely am, and yeah, just let me know down below. But that is going to do it for me. So if you guys enjoyed, please do drop a like down below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Helps me out a bunch. Lets me know you guys are enjoying the stuff that I'm putting out there. So that's always great to see. We do, reveals like this whenever they come up, but we also do things like character spotlights, tournament recaps, and battle reports on the weekends. So if you like any of those things, feel free to jump on in. That is going to do it for this video. So until next time, everybody, have a great day. Peace.